All right, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do some of the just final little trim stuff on the deck. The first thing we're going to do is make two little ladders. These are going to go up on the poop deck near the stern of the ship. So it's a combination of these etched, brass pieces and just some 2x2 walnut wood. When I went and measured these things, though, they're too long, and careful examination of the pictures in the instructions shows that in the pictures there's 7 rungs on the ladder, and if you count here on these in the brass parts, there's 8 rungs. And so went back and kind of looked at it, and sure enough, if I trim the top rung off, it's going to be the right size to fit where they show it. So that's going to be the first thing we've got to do here is get rid of this top rung. There you go. So now that should be the right height for the area that we're going to put it in. Do the same on this one. This one doesn't want to cut. All right, there we go. Okay, so those are done. Now I just need to go and cut that. We need to figure out how long those need to be, because the instructions say there it should be 22 millimeters, which would have been the right length had we not had to cut one of the rungs off. So let's see. So this is closer to about 18 millimeters. There we go. All right, well, I'm going to go move the camera because it's easier for me to get in with the saw and cut. Then we'll come back, we'll glue these together and mount them on the ship. All right, so I've gone ahead and got these parts built. Nothing special, just glued the wood onto it. Can't see if I can get the camera to, doesn't want to focus on it. Oh well, anyway, you get the point. We'll let it get focused back here onto the ship. Nothing really special here. Like I said, they just go down here onto the poop deck. So let me get a little bit of glue onto the back. Go, that's where those pieces go. See if I can get the one on the other side. You're not going to be able to see me put this one in, but one that goes just exactly opposite Right, you can see it looks pretty good there. All right, so the next step is we're going to have to paint two pieces that are just going to get glued on. Again, these are two metal pieces. So let's go and I'll reset and we'll get to the painting. Okay, so the two pieces we need to paint is this eagle emblem. See, I've already spray painted it, the gold that's going to be. We're just going to do the wash and then we'll probably dry brush it to kind of bring out the details. And then this piece here, which has been primed black, but I'm going to put an actual black paint over it. And that's the ship's galley's chimney. So they're both going to get glued on to the deck here. So I'm going to start with putting the wash over the eagle. Since this is going to take a little bit longer to dry, maybe I need a bigger brush for that. It's a little tough because I want the wash to get in there, I also don't want it to just kind of overpower everything. So getting the right amount in there can be a little difficult. Okay, so I think that's going to be good for now. It'll get a little less dark once it dries. And then, like I said, we're going to go back over and bring the highlights out with a brighter gold. So I think it'll look pretty nice. So let's see, where's my black paint? Here we go. It's not going to take much paint for this, so I'll just use a little teeny tiny amount. Wash the brush. You might be wondering, like, why am I bothering to put black paint over black primer? Why not just leave it like with the primer on there? And the primer actually will over time scratch. It can get scratched off fairly easy. Especially on sharp edges like this piece has. Whereas using the regular paint, almost when it dries, it forms a nice solid shell around it. And it's going to be a thicker layer that's on it. So it's not going to, if it does get hit or scraped or anything, it's not going to, scratch through and show the white metal through it. And this, gives it a little bit of a sheen. The primer is very, very matte. So let's give these pieces here a little bit to dry, and we'll come back and we'll kind of do some dry brushing on that eagle. There's a bunch of these eagles that are going to go all over the ship. Most of them go around the hulls, part of just the ornamentation that's on it, but there's one here that goes basically onto the deck house on the deck. So in a way, this is a prototype to see if how I plan on painting these is going to work. If I end up, after I dry brush it, not really liking it so much, then I'll probably pull the paint off of this one. I'll grab one of the other eagles. We'll get that. I already have a bunch of them spray painted gold. We'll bring another one in and we'll try something different. But I think this is going to be okay. And like I said, we'll be putting a brighter gold over the top. It should make all of the high spots just kind of pop out and leave that wash all in the recesses. So let's give this a few minutes to dry, and then we'll come back and finish up the eagle and get everything glued onto the deck. All right, everything here appears to be dry on the eagle. So I'm going to start with this gold, specifically designed dry paint that I have. And if that doesn't work or doesn't do what I want it to do, then I might use the ochre paint, which I think is a little bit brighter of a gold, but let's not quite sure. It definitely covered any parts of the wash that were on any high spot on there or anything, but it's not quite as bright as I would have liked. So let's give the ochre paint a little bit of a try here. There we go. I think that brightened it up a little bit more. I've got to figure out if I want to make some adjustments to this little process for when I do the eagles that are going to go around the outside. I still think it's a little bit darker than I would have liked. So that's easy enough. I'll just dilute the wash so that it's not quite as dark. And but for this one-off one that's going to go kind of in on the deck, I think that's going to be perfectly fine. But with the, like I said, the ones that go around the outside, we'll really just have to compare it with the other ornaments that are going to go on the outside, and just to make sure that they're kind of consistent and everything. But it's not too bad. All right, so let's go and get these things glued on. Okay, the first thing we're gonna glue in here is the galley chimney. Just putting some CA on the bottom of this. I did sand that, give it a little bit of a rough texture there. That'll help the glue. And then this is just sits in between the deck or the mast and the bell housing there. So it's a little bit off center. There we go. Perfect. So that's kind of there, about as simple as it gets. Let's see if I can move the camera so you can see where we're going to glue the other piece in. So you can see we have the front of the deck house here. That's where the eagle is going to go. We'll have to figure out how best to reach in and actually place it in there. It's gonna... Probably when I'm putting it in, all you're going to see is my hand. Here we go. That's all there is to that. And I'm going to back out here. There was actually another few other things that I almost completely missed. Although I'm sure when I've gone to do the rigging, I would have caught them. But there's two little eye bolts that need to go on here. Sorry, I think I just bumped the camera again as I look around. So I've already marked the spots for them. I think that one went right into a former in there, and that's why I ended up having to drill all the way down, yeah, instead of just punching through the deck like that one did. So let's get a couple of these eye bolts. Hopefully this hole got deep enough, but we'll see. Yes, it did. And all I did was put a little teeny tiny drop of CA on there to kind of hold it in place. Right, that's in there. So the last thing we're going to do here to kind of finish off all of the little trim and all of this stuff on the deck is to place a whole bunch of little black beads. Not sure here if you can see them. They like this. And they're going to go, they go on the pillar and the rail of each staircase, and then there's some that go kind of around each of these rails. And again, they're just a little, piece of decoration and whatnot that goes on there. I've got to kind of follow the plans and everything to see actually where they all go. This ship also comes with barrels that you can use to decorate the deck. I have not decided whether I'm going to put the barrels on or not. And like I said, in the whole thing, they show some barrels, they show some rope coils and stuff placed at certain areas. I probably ultimately will put them on, but I'm going to wait until after I get the cannons in, simply because some of them where the barrels go, it's going to be more difficult to get the camera in. I mean, not that they go anywhere. I guess you could put them wherever you want, but the instructions does show a few kind of locations and whatnot. So And I'll probably follow what they do if I ultimately decide, to put them on and whatnot. But let's go. I'm gonna get started on here. I'll probably, show you guys a few um, of these, but there's no point in showing, like, placing all of these on the whole deck. It gets rather boring and probably rather uh, repetitive with it. But get some glue out on my stand here, because that's going to be the easiest way, is to just dip the bead into it now. This bead that I pulled out is a little malformed. Most of them are nice and round. That one was kind of oval. So let's get one that's actually round. And I know one goes on top of this pillar right here. This is what I'm afraid of, where the bead wants to stick more to my tweezers than it does to the pillar. I don't know if y'all can see that one right there. Let's zoom in. And it's right there at the top of that. It was there at the bottom of the railing. And so, of course, there's 6 stairs, so I've got to do that for all 6. And we'll do one more here before I kind of move the camera out of the way, just so you can kind of see it. You can see one on that rail, and I said all of the rails will get this kind of treatment, as well as the staircases. So let me go. I'm going to move the camera out of the way so I can get in a little bit closer, get all of these things done. We'll come back and I'll show you the final results, and then we're probably going to wrap up this video here. All right, so you can see I got all of these little black beads on. Just when I thought I was getting done with them, I noticed that there's several that go up on the railing on the bow as well. These beads are wildly inconsistent in their shape. There's some that are only about 1 millimeter high, and then there's some that are as many as 3 millimeters high. So you kind of have to watch and pick to try to be somewhat consistent. So another thing is my day job is going to start interfering here a little bit over the next week with the hobby, simply because I've got to go out of town for a little bit. So progress on the ship is going to stall for a little bit. I'll probably be gone by the time this video actually comes out, but it also gives me an opportunity to ask you all something. So if you've ever downloaded or looked at the instructions for the San Felipe, you'll see that I am jumping around. The way the instructions and process are laid out, they'll have you do some stuff on the deck, then you'll do stuff on the sides of the hull, you might do stuff on the stern and stuff, and you just kind of keep going around. But I don't like working that way. So as you can see, I just concentrated. I got pretty much everything done on the deck, minus the cannons and the boats, like I said, some of the barrels that I mentioned earlier and stuff. But basically, the deck is done. So now I've got a choice what to do next. I can start working on the channels and the dead eyes and stuff on the sides of the hull, or I can come back and start working on the rails and the ornamentation and the officers' quarters and everything here on the stern. So just throw a comment in. What do you want me to start on next? And like I said, it'll be a few days probably between when this video comes out, when I come back from my trip. And so I'll be able to kind of, based off what you guys comment on, I'll decide here what we're going to do. But once again, thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.